Hey, bag ladies and bag dudes. I'm Sara Lawson from So Sweetness. This is my husband, Danny, and you're watching Ask Sara, my weekly Q&A chat.
It's not working.
Hey, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Ask Sara. I saw a lot of you chatting beforehand on YouTube and Facebook, so thank you so much for joining us. I see Mary's watching from Indiana, Ruth from Illinois. Cindy says, poor Danny, he may never make another bag with all of our requests to show us. Yeah, you're kind of slacking in that department.
I wanted to post this comment because I thought it was nice for Tamara, but...
Bronwyn says, I missed Tamara. In case you missed last week, Tamara was on with me for book club, so Danny was sort of taking the night off. You were still running the controls. All right, I see Helen's watching as well. Thank you for joining us. We have a few things to talk to you about, and then I'll be answering some questions live at the end of the show. So I was making dinner right before the show, and I splattered some tomato puree on my sweater. I think it's most noticeable. Well, if you're watching on a cell phone, you probably can't see it, but I noticed my collar had some like red stains on it, and I was too lazy to change my shirt before the show, so I figured we're just gonna let it, we're gonna go with the flow and
You get stains on that shirt?
Yeah, can't tell?
No.
Really? Oh, I can see it on the screen. We have a huge screen in front of us.
Oh, I
so.
see where you're talking about now.
Yeah. Oh, also I wanted to
I thought it was your self-tanner you've been using.
No. Also, I wanted to share this beautiful artwork, our own Lorna Nash. This is actually a greeting card, and it looks like a store-bought greeting card, and this is Lorna's artwork, and she sent some, my favorite Cadbury mini eggs, but the international version. So I noticed there's a difference from...
Where's she from?
Did
you have it outside the card?
It was on the card, but I already tossed it in the bin, so sorry.
Good job.
I noticed there's a clear difference from candy in the United States and candy in other countries. First of all, the selection's different, and the taste is slightly different also. I'm not sure why, but I don't know. Have you ever had candy from other countries?
Those pineapple lumps, which were delicious.
Yeah, that's true. We don't have those here, though, that I'm aware. But I often have candy from other countries because people send me some, or I usually don't share with you, so that's probably why you're not as aware, but... Michelle Graham and Bronwyn also wanted me to let you all know that if you're participating in the Sublime Bag Sew Along in the Facebook group, the week 1 album will be posted immediately following tonight's show, and they've decided that each week's album will follow the same type of schedule. After the Tuesday show, they'll post the album in the Facebook group, and week 1, you should have your fabric and interfacing cut out and fabric attached to interfacing. And Bronwyn wanted me to kindly request for all of the photos to be added to the album as a new photo in order to be eligible for the weekly prizes. So please try not to add your photo in the comments or under somebody else's photo in the comments. Go ahead and post your photo as a new photo in the album, and you can find that in the Facebook group. And if it's your first time participating in a sew along, you can find the albums if you click on the photo tab. If you're on the desktop, that'll be on the left-hand side. If you're on a cell phone or tablet, likely it'll be a bar kind of midway down the page, but there will be a bar of different options. You want to click on photos first, and then there's another link when you get there for albums, and then you'll just need to browse through and find the album for week 1 for the Sublime Bag Sew Along. So we'll announce the weekly prize winners on the live shows. We're allowing plenty of time for you all to get your progress posted for each week, so no need to rush. There's plenty of time, and then the prizes will begin being announced not next Tuesday, the Tuesday after. So clearly you have plenty of time to get your preparations started. So did you have something to post on?
I was going to say, are you ready for a trip to England? Because I didn't know this is where they're from, but Charlie says he's toured the factory.
Oh, that's really cool.
It'd be like you and like Willy Wonka's factory. It'd be Sara and Cadbury factory.
Oh, Cadbury cream eggs. I love when Easter time comes because that's when the
Cadbury
eggs usually come
early this year. I was surprised
out.
they were in the stores.
Yeah, February, right? Is that when you first started buying them for me?
Yep.
Yeah, and they usually buy a lot, and they're meant to be for the whole family, but really I just eat them really quickly.
I bought like 10 the last time, and the kids like, all right, everyone gets 2 each, and then we'll have a couple left over. And like the next day, like 6 were gone. It was all Sara.
It was. All right, so we'd like to invite you now, if you enjoy watching the live shows and if you enjoy our sewing tutorial videos and the bag making videos, we'd like to invite you now, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, to go ahead and type in either Bag Lady or Bag Dude in the comments right now. Of course, you need to be logged into your either Facebook or YouTube account in order to do that. But we really enjoy, especially on Tuesday, I have this nice laptop right next to me, and I can see all the Bag Lady and Bag Dude comments coming through. So we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being a part of the community, and we have a lot of fun on the live shows. Like I feel like, especially on Tuesdays, running the show really makes my day, especially if I'm feeling a little bit sluggish earlier in the day, which I was right before tonight's show. Danny was playing music really loud and singing a little off key. Forgive me for saying that, but I was like, "Oh,
you hurt my feelings, Sara.
I'm really tired and stop singing because I'm in a bad mood." And he's like, "Well, I'm trying to get you motivated for the show." And I was like, "Once the show starts, I'll be fine because I'm gonna have fun, when we're doing this show." But
she had the biggest RBF, if I'm saying it right.
No.
It's like we're the opposite. In the morning, I'm like, I'm tired. And then Dana's like, woo, let's go. I'm like, I'll jump on, I'm playing with my friends a game or whatever, and I'll be yelling crazy, and they're like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, when you come in the sewing room in the morning to get started with work, you always look like there's something wrong, but I know it's...
I force myself to wake up early, and I'm like, I'm there, but I'm not mentally there.
Yeah, I could tell. So our next book club discussion is how many weeks away? Maybe three or 4 weeks away. Actually, March was a longer month, so I think 4 more weeks away. I have to admit, I started reading what I thought would be the month 3 selection because I'm reading them ahead of time just to make sure they're good choices and they have sewing content. And I'm sort of sad because I feel like I'm almost finished with what I thought would be book number 3. And there's hardly any reference to the main character sewing, so I think I might have to make another choice. This already happened once before where I was halfway through the book and I was like, where's all the sewing or quilting content? They're really not talking about sewing, so I think I'm going to have to go to one of my backup choices. Thankfully, I was able to find tons of books with mention, or hopefully mention, supposed mention of sewing or quilting, so I might have to go to one of my backup choices, but I see we're gonna...
Yeah, Charlie's the man with the plans. I see he's always got some, quality comments.
That's really cool.
Out to me.
Charlie says, I saw Pinkerville has arrived in stores. That's Tula Pink Pinkerville. Oh, I have something to tell you about that in just a second, but let's talk about Charlie's comment
first. I'm guessing it arrived. The thoughts.
It got me thinking, Tula has her Tula troops. Should we have the Sara Squad, the Lawson Legion, Sara's Bag Brigade? I like all 3 of those.
I care just for one of the 3 because... it's more inclusive. Might leave that comment up for a while.
Maybe we'll have to put that to a vote on a future show, perhaps. I should probably write down those names, though, so I don't forget.
Lawson Legion, Sara Squad. I'll put it back up.
Squad or Sara's Bag Brigade.
I like it. Be your hashtag call for action.
Yeah, that would be a cool hashtag too. Awesome. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for the great ideas. So in regards to the Tula Pink Pinkerville, it has we've gotten it in, let's back up. It has arrived. My mom texted me earlier today that all the fabric arrived at my parents' house because my dad is in charge of cutting. So since we order so much, that's where it goes because we don't have room here. So it should be listed on the website sometime tomorrow. So my dad's busy hopefully cutting it. My dad's been staying up later recently, so he has extra time for cutting today, I suppose, if you want to put it that way. Helen says, don't forget about the International Quilt Show at Rosemont next week. That's right. So Rosemont, Illinois is about 10 minutes away from our house, and every year they have International Quilt Festival. So they have...
I'm going to go to it?
Did you want to go?
I always want to go. Everything's just like, do you want to go?
Oh, you've never been...
Yeah, I want to go.
You've never been to a quilt show or a trade show before. That's right. So they have lots of quilts on display, award-winning quilts. They have tons of vendors, sewing machine vendors, quilt shops, all sorts of stuff. Oh, it would be cool. We could keep a lookout for some new tools and things we can talk about or I can talk about on Social Sunday. Prudence says, Sarah, are you going to be selling those bag tags you showed on Sunday that say So Sweetness? I didn't even think about selling those. I suppose we could though, right?
What are you doing with so many of them?
Well, my urge.
Are you going to give them away?
I'll talk about it on Sunday, but I ordered these custom
There's a large bag of them.
Tags that say, I know it's so small you can't see, but it says So Sweetness. I really just ordered them so that I could review them on the show and let you know what I think about them. But yeah, I suppose we could sell some in smaller packs, I guess. So they install on the bag just like a magnetic snap does. So it has the prongs, and you just make the 2 slits just like for a magnetic snap, and it goes through your fabric. I suppose most people I see put them on the front of the bag, so perhaps, I don't know, somewhere over here, something like that. I'll talk about these on Sunday and let you know what I think. I had to order, how many did I, a few hundred, at least 100 I had to order in order to get the pricing on them. Yeah, I'll talk about it more on Sunday though. I also started working on some new patterns, so I don't want to give the date yet because we're not entirely sure, but we're going to have another 4-pack video bundle sometime this spring. And so I decided that we'd throw 2 new patterns in there. So I started writing, actually I finished writing one of the patterns yesterday. So I write all of the instructions first, I draft the pattern pieces, and then I actually sew them up to make sure, or to see if what I thought would work actually does work. So 2 of the patterns in the next 4-pack will be brand new patterns, and then 2 will be previously released patterns. I decided to go with this time the Polaris bag and the Sloan Travel bag. So a variety of different sizes for the next bundle. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the new patterns, and I'm always excited about new patterns. And I also was working on the next free book club pattern this past week too. I kind of made little prototypes. Sometimes if I need to make a prototype, I'll make it out of foam, and Danny saw them sitting on the sewing room floor, and he's like, what are these? Earlier tonight, right? You asked me?
I said they looked similar to something. I'm like, what is that?
Okay. Yeah. All will be revealed. I promise it'll work out. In my head, I have, it sounds good in my head. All right, so before we get over to Danny's pick and the questions, we'd like to ask you, if you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button now, and you can share this sewing video with your other sewing friends on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, I hope you will consider subscribing so that you can be notified of our upcoming sewing tutorial videos and every time we go live. And regardless, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, if you could at least hit the like button, which looks,
comment, and subscribe.
Yes, the like button looks like a little picture of a thumbs up. So we really appreciate you doing that, and thank you so much. So take it away with your pick of the week.
My pick of the week was, I was just approving a post before we came on, and I saw this bag, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. It looked amazing, great pictures. Let me go ahead and hit the button.
And it's a Clydebank tote, which we've seen a lot of Clydebank totes being made in the past week, which is fabulous. Yes.
It is from, I hope I say your name right. If I'm wrong, correct me. I'll find the comment. Avenel, Avenel, Avenell. Here we go. I love the fabric. Blue is a great color for me. I see some cork accents on the sides. Nice. I don't know if that's like a leather zipper on the sides with metal teeth, but it looks like it. And I like the brown with the blue. And the inside looks great. Double zipper. Yeah.
Did you say leather zipper?
Well, obviously it's not leather. I can see now. I'll tell you what. From that picture, it's easy to tell not leather. But it looked like the brown leatherish color.
The color of leather, but a zipper.
You enjoy yourself so much, Sarah. Just like, I finally am handing it to Danny. You know what?
No, it's
enjoy
just
yourself.
Funny.
At my cost. I'm glad you're laughing with me, but not at me. Hope I get some emails says Sarah's being
so
mean
great
to
job,
me.
Avenel. I really loved, like Danny said, the photograph looked great. Your bag turned out amazing, so great job. All right, so if you have a question for me, go ahead and type it in the comments now. I'm going to be answering as many questions as I can live. I apologize in advance if I don't get to your question, but I answer as many as Danny allows me to. But go ahead and type that in the comments now.
You never got to the Tula Pink, or are you going to talk about that later?
I mentioned it already.
Did you?
Yeah, he must have been
zoning out.
Looking for comments or something.
No.
It can be either a general sewing related question, a bag making related question. Go ahead and type that in the comments now, and Danny will be throwing a few of the questions up on the screen, and I'll be answering some questions live. I see Vicky says, we are making the bag to the book for the book club at your sewing group, and BJ is teaching us. That's awesome. I've actually gotten, I've had the great honor of meeting BJ in person at a sewing retreat, and it's always fun knowing people in person and then seeing their names and comments in the group. That's super fun. Mermaid 101 says, what is the next book club book? So the book that we'll be discussing in the middle of April is called The Runaway by Tracy, hopefully I'm pronouncing her last name right, Tracy Chevalier. Again, that's called The Last Runaway, and we'll be discussing that on April 16th, and that's a Tuesday night at our usual time slot, so same time as tonight. I've seen a lot of people have finished the book already, and they thought it was, I've heard nothing but great comments about that particular book. I enjoyed it a lot myself. Tons of, what's the word I'm looking for? Tons of talk in the book of sewing and quilting, so I thought it was really, really great. Jessica says, how much will your Tula yardage cost? So we're going to be selling it just like we've done with the previous Tula Pink fabrics in 2-yard packs and in 5-yard packs. So I've chosen 2 prints that go together, and then the 5-yard packs will be the coordinating colors. The 2-yard packs will be $22, and the 5-yard packs $55. Carol says, have you used the heat-proof ruler for ironing? Yes, it's called the Hot Ruler. I don't think I have it on my desk so that I can show you, but it's about maybe about 12 inches long. And it's made from a material that reminds me a lot of Peltex interfacing. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. And it has all the markings on it like a regular ruler does. And for the Hot Ruler, it's really great because you can easily... for instance, if I direct you in the pattern, or this is great for garment sewing as well, press toward the wrong side by 1/4 inch. The Hot Ruler is great because you can actually leave the ruler in with your fabric, fold the fabric up to that 1/4 inch, and iron right on top of the ruler. So you obviously can't do that with a regular acrylic ruler, or a metal ruler would get really hot and burn you. But the Hot Ruler is really great for pressing those types in those types of instances. Rosella says, what pattern is good to make with cork and not a small, I'm guessing you meant purse?
I'd go with bag, but yeah.
The Easy Leather Hobo bag is not as small as the Baker Street bag. Normally I recommend the Baker Street bag as a first bag. Not that you were asking about first bags, but I've made that one in cork fabric. The Easy Leather Hobo bag can be made with cork, and that's, I would feel like, maybe a little bit bigger than a medium-sized bag. It's a good size, the Easy Leather Hobo bag, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
And those are both free videos on the YouTube channel, so you can find both of those that I just mentioned over on YouTube. Phyllis says, what type of feet do you prefer? So I have a foot, I don't think it's exactly the 1/4 inch foot, but it's one of the feet that came with my Juki, and it's pretty much 1/4 inch wide. And that's the one I use pretty much all the time. If I'm using leather, vinyl, or cork, I'll switch out to my Teflon foot. So if you ever see me in one of my sewing videos and I have a little white foot on my sewing machine, that's the Teflon foot.
Cool one's your piping foot? Is that what you call it?
The piping foot I use once in a while. Not every bag that I make has piping on it, but the piping foot is helpful. And also I use the, for my Juki, they have what's called a hinged zipper foot. I use that for sewing with number 3 dress skirt zippers because the zipper tape is a little bit less wide than the handbag zippers. So that particular foot is good for those thinner zippers over there. So those are the main feet. I have other feet that I use once in a blue moon. Jess says, Danny, what's your favorite creation that Sarah's made? That's a great question.
Probably the Rockstar bag. And I
really?
think that one is one of my favorites. That and the Sublime are my 2 favorites. But the Rockstar bag, I think because I've seen Christy from Rock Baby Scissors make so many different variations and a lot of cool colors. It makes me think, oh, that's a really, fun bag.
I don't know how many Rockstar bags that Chrissy's made. I feel like this year it's got to be approaching 100. So, again, that's Rock Baby Scissors. You can find her over on Instagram.
Did you mention the name of the second book already? Did I put that one
I did.
there?
Yes,
Okay.
I did. Yep.
I've seen 2 or 3 asking about interfacing, why you prefer sew-in versus fusible.
Oh, okay. That's a good question. I'm not as sure if that question was in regards to foam or not, but if the question was in regards to foam, I like using sew-in interfacing with the fusible foams sometimes, especially if you're
it's spot foam.
Squishing the fabric or turning it right side out through the opening in the lining. Sometimes in that process, because things are kind of getting squished and pulled through smaller openings, some areas of the fabric come a little bit unattached from the fusible foam and kind of cause like dimples or wrinkles in the finished bag. And even ironing the bag once it's finished doesn't really help a whole lot with those dimples. And so that's why I like using the sew-in foam, because you can obviously, because it's just basted to the foam, the fabric is just basted to the foam, it's quite easy to get a nice looking press when the bag is finished. Val says, Sarah, do you happen to know what Tula Pink's first fabric line was called? I've searched but have not come across the name. I have some, the name is escaping me right now. It had owls on it. Let me see if I can grab it. Yeah, I have some up here.
Sarah, do you need it to use a heavy-duty industrial machine? Nice pants, by the way.
Oh, yeah. The pajama pants, per usual. I've actually never, ever sewn with an industrial machine. My Juki, I suppose some people refer to it as a semi-industrial. Even though it doesn't come in a table, it's pretty heavy-duty. It's all metal. Oh, here it is right here. Okay, so this was Tula Pink's first fabric line. She did reissue last year a recoloring of this particular print and some other of her old prints, and this is Full Moon Forest. And she designed this for Moda Fabrics. Yeah, this if you're able to find this at all on eBay or Etsy, this fabric goes for quite a lot. But I have a few pieces that I've hoarded that... It's funny because when people know you like particular fabrics, sometimes I get an email, hey, Sarah, I have this fabric. I was going to sell it in a D-stash, but I wanted to check first if you wanted it. So I'm usually like, yes, please.
Please.
Marilyn says, hi, I saw a movie titled The Last Runaway on Netflix today. Is it related to the book? I'm not aware of that. Can I Google it real quick, Danny?
Sure.
Do you mind?
I'll take this next question then, Sarah. It says, Deborah says, missed you, Danny. Did you tell us how your bag is coming along? My bag is in the same state as it was for the past 2 weeks. It's, I'm coming familiar with the term UFO, unfinished object. Is that right,
Yeah.
Sarah?
Yep.
I stumbled across a game I used to play a while ago with my friends. I've been taking my free time and using it for that, which I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't, but I am. What's the answer, Sarah?
So the answer regarding The Last Runaway on Netflix is that from just glancing at it, I can say it's not the same as the book, because when I glanced on Netflix for The Last Runaway, there were a bunch of guys in army camo and they had guns and...
Not the same one?
No. This book is from a different time period and yes, not the one on Netflix, but it would be pretty cool if there was a movie because the book was really good. Mindy says, where can I find the pattern for the Baker Street bag? So you can either find, first of all, the video will be on the YouTube channel. I have a tab on my website, tutorials, and there's a sub-tab under tutorials. There's bags, which that will be under, and there's also bag making techniques, which I have a lot of our other short videos, like, for instance, how to install purse feet, different types of zippers. So shorter technique videos like that will be under bag making techniques, but everything will be under the tutorials tab on my website. Oh, this reminds me, I'd like to ask you all a question. Is it okay if I ask them a question because they're going to be commenting the answer to my question? Should I ask them a little bit later?
No, why can't you answer a question?
Well, because it's going to push all the other questions down. Okay.
It happens, right?
Anyway, the question that I wanted to ask, I got an email about this, and it sounded like a good idea. It was a great suggestion. For my free patterns, the suggestion or the request was if I could add the free patterns and videos to the pattern section of the shop. So currently I just post them on the blog and they're on YouTube. But the request was for free patterns to be on the website. There's a couple reasons for that, or the reasons that they gave in the email. One would be easier to find because you just go to the pattern section of the shop. And two, if you purchase those free patterns, which they'd be free, they'd be zero money, but you would still go through the checkout process. But if you go through the checkout process signed into your account, then the videos and the free patterns would be available in your account. So when you're looking for any of your Sew Sweetness projects, for example, on Saturday, if you're like, I have time to sew,
That's
what
a
should I
wonderful
make?
idea.
You think it's a wonderful idea?
Yeah, so everyone's account has the free patterns already available.
Yes. So if
you can add to your collection.
If you like that idea, let me know in the comments because it sounded pretty interesting. And
we've talked about it before of redoing the site again to make it more functional friendly, and that's on the back burner currently. But we've been talking about it.
Well, this could be done like right now.
Yeah, I know.
It would be
I'm just saying overall for a more smoother experience.
Anyway, let me know in the comments if you like that idea, and I will try maybe this weekend to get on
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Lottie says, would cork work for the handle of the Clydebank tote? What would I need to remember when using cork instead of cotton? So, with the Clydebank tote...
I'm going to say no.
Kind of. So, if you haven't made the Clydebank tote yet, this isn't sewn, the strap isn't sewn together until the end, and the reason that it's left open is so that you can pull the bag right side out, pull the bag right side out and then pull the strap right side out. So if this was made with cork, it would be pretty stiff. However, it's still doable if you left this area unsewn, because then you'd really be only pulling it through this bottom part, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So because the cork is thicker, I guess it also depends on if you're still going to use the foam with the cork. You could go either way. And I've had a lot of questions regarding that because of the side panels on the Clydebank. I did use the foam interfacing on the cork side panels, but you could go either way, especially if you're using fleece for the main portion of your bag. So there's a few different options in regards to interfacing for this bag. But that would be my recommendation if you're going to use cork fabric for the front and back. Maybe leave this portion unsewn, the portion where it's mostly straight, just so you don't have stiff cork to pull all the way down through the handles, if that makes sense. I have never purchased fabric on the internet. How can we tell if it's good quality or not before buying? So that's a good question. So most of the fabrics that I buy are from manufacturers that
I see a million great ideas. Great idea.
Oh, okay, cool. Most of the fabric that I buy, I'm already familiar with the manufacturer because I've purchased fabrics from that designer or manufacturer in the past. For instance, Tula Pink designs for Free Spirit fabrics. So any other designer that designs for Free Spirit fabrics, I'm already familiar with what that fabric is like. And same goes for the other fabrics that I use. I feel like...
Oh my goodness.
So my top three websites that I like for buying fabric are stashfabrics.com, Hawthorne Supply Company, and Fat Quarter Shop. And I feel extremely confident that any fabric that you buy from any of those three shops is going to be high quality, and a lot of the stuff that I use myself. There's a lot of other shops out there that I like as well, but if you're, especially since you mentioned you've never purchased fabric on the internet, I feel like those are three good places to start. And I do buy my fabric from other places as well, but those are just the first three that jump to mind and the three that I purchase from the most often. So hopefully that helps. If you're ever not sure of a fabric that you've purchased in person, especially it's been years since I've purchased fabric from Walmart just because we don't have one near us, but when the kids were babies, I had a bad experience with some Walmart fabric that I bought with massive shrinkage. So if you're ever not sure about the fabric, just pre-wash it. So pre-washing just means you're treating the fabric the same way that you would the finished product. So if you would like to put it in the washer and washing machine in the dryer, that's what you should do before you cut out your fabric for your project. So by putting it in the washer and the dryer first, it pre-shrinks it. So if it's going to shrink, it'll do it when it goes in the dryer, and then before you cut your fabric out. Nicole says, what is the best way to add backpack straps to a bag? That's a great question. A few weeks ago, we did a demonstration. I did a demonstration for how to add backpack straps to a bag. You can find that on the YouTube channel or also on my website under the tutorials tab or the bag making techniques tab.
I think you spoke on this, but...
April said, do you have a trick to get all the little creases, wrinkles out of the finished bag when you do use fusible foam? I have one bag that's just being stubborn. So I feel bad saying this, but I feel like for the most part, if you have wrinkles caused by the fusible foam, there's not a whole lot you can do, or at least that I've found. Ironing it a lot usually doesn't make a massive difference. I hate saying that too, but
what about like washing it or something? Trying to get some water to help break up.
I've done that too with other fusibles in the past, and it wasn't.
Or let it soak in something.
Yeah.
Something we could research into.
Yeah, I wish there was a magic
I'd love to do
trick.
some testing. I'm a big R&D guy.
Because it is it is a problem with a lot of bags that have fusible foams. Yeah. Joan says, how do I stop getting a sticky needle when using Wonder Tape to assist inserting a zipper? That's very interesting. So my first thought is, or my first question to ask is, if you're using, if you're actually using Dritz Wash Away Wonder Tape, or if you're using a different double-sided tape. There was some discussion in the Facebook group in the last week about different brands of double-sided tape, and some that may be marketed for scrapbooking, and you always want to make sure that you get one meant for sewing or quilting so that it won't gum up your needle. So I'm not sure if you were using the Dritz Wash Away Wonder Tape. I've never personally had any issues with gumming up the needle or having problems sewing. But if you want to let us know in the comments, or you can email me after the show, I'd be happy to talk about that with you further. My email is sarah@sewsweetness.com, and that's Sarah with no H. I don't think I got to the previous comments. Do you remember what it was?
No, I don't.
Gwen says, Joan, I just use a glue stick lightly across the zipper, holds in place, and not sticky needle. Oh, that's a great comment, too. A washable glue stick can also be used to hold your zipper in place, or for other applications for sewing.
Let's see, that was that one.
Okay.
Oh, can we put purse feet on the Clydebank tote?
Oh, great question.
Oh, even though I had that one, the different one selected.
It's okay. I can still answer it. The question was, can you put purse feet on the Clydebank tote? Yes, you absolutely can. I do have a free video on the YouTube channel, how to insert purse feet, but I usually recommend, so this is at the bottom of the bag is a rectangle, and I usually recommend placing each purse foot 1.5 inches down and 1.5 inches in from the side edge of just this piece of fabric before you sew it in. So it'll be 4 purse feet, all of them 1.5 inches in. Sonia says, oh, that was the question. Sorry.
Yes, I give credit to.
Steaming it. I see some helpful comments. Steaming spray starch might help with the wrinkles caused by the fusible foam.
It says careful for streaking marks. My idea was to take possibly like rubbing alcohol and soak it in that, maybe it'll dissolve the sticky material, the adhesive.
Oh, so your plan is to just dissolve the whole adhesive?
Yeah, let the bag sit in like rubbing alcohol for like an hour.
Would that damage the fabric?
So we'd have to test and see.
Oh, I see where your mind's
maybe like
going.
the nail polish remover that's not made out of acetone. There's like there's one that's not like harmful that way. We have to do some studies and some science
little
projects.
Samples.
Yes.
That sounds like a lot of work,
use a
though.
dry
If
iron.
it didn't.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of comments towards it, but I'm not seeing a question.
Oh, here, you can post Anita's comment. I posted in the Facebook group before the show. So Anita's talking about something that I posted in the Facebook group earlier today. I forgot what I called it. Or you decided the name for
Maker Monday?
Maker Monday. So we're going to start this, starting this upcoming Monday in the Facebook group. I know people often want to share other non-bag projects in the Facebook group, so I'm going to start a thread every week for Maker Monday. And in my thread only in the Facebook group, you're welcome to post photographs of other sewing projects that you've made. Maybe you've made a quilt, a garment, pillows or something for your home, anything non-bag related as far as the project goes. And we're going to be posting those every Monday just so you can see what your fellow bag ladies and bag dudes are making outside of bags. And that'll be in the Facebook group. Can we just continue doing book club, maybe with different topics? Like we are reading books related to sewing for next another topic. Just book club, it's okay with no bag patterns. That sounds like a great idea. We could probably do that. I really love reading. It's hard to find time, but at night I really
It's
enjoy
great.
reading a lot.
It really inspired people to start reading again. A lot of comments were coming through saying that, I haven't read in years. I'm so glad I started reading, and, it sparked interest in people.
Yeah, that's completely doable. So I already have planned for book club 6 months of sewing related fiction, but we sure can continue that for the rest of the year. And we do plan on doing book club again next year with the free patterns and the 6-month club. So
That's new to me. News.
I don't know. I think I mentioned it on Tuesday when Tamara was here, but maybe not. Do you have a video that shows how to do the hand sewing of some of the inside lining? I actually do. You can find that on the YouTube channel. You want to look for slip stitch on the Sew Sweetness channel, and I have a video for how to slip stitch your lining closed. Teresa says, Sarah, I have not yet used the mesh, but I'm planning to on my next project. Is there any problem with it melting? So if you purchase mesh from me, the By Annie mesh, we have it in lots of different colors. You can use your iron on that mesh and it will not melt. I've seen once or twice in the past someone used different mesh for, I'm not sure if it was for a garment or something else, but that mesh did melt. But the mesh that I saw on my website is meant for sewing and bag making, so that will not melt. Great question though. You can always, if you're not sure, if you have a different type of mesh, you can always cut a little scrap off and test it with your iron first before you start on your project, just to make sure that it's okay and it'll hold up.
There must have been a question I didn't see go through earlier that Glum was responding to.
Glum says, I think Sarah made a video showing how to add magnetic snaps. I do have a video on magnetic snaps, and I think we also, it's been a while, forgive me, but I think in that same video I also talked about invisible magnetic snaps as well. That's basically a different type of snap. The invisible magnetic snaps come in a little clear vinyl sleeve, and you actually sew those to the bag, but the reason they're invisible is you usually embed them on the interfacing before you sew the bag together, so when the bag's finished, there's not a visible snap, but it's still a working snap as far as keeping your bag or your flap closed. Nancy says, can the...
Oh, Sarah. Go to the next question.
Okay. Deborah says, I will be retired after August. Any chance of a sewing retreat this year? Probably not, but I just needed to ask. Unfortunately, we loved doing the retreats. We don't have anything scheduled for this year just because we're still figuring things out as far as moving. We really don't know what's going on with that. And so we felt like it was reasonable not to have a retreat this year just so we could not make ourselves crazy. If we're moving, we don't know when we're moving and all this other stuff. So hopefully sometime in the future.
Did you answer that one?
Yes, I did answer. Nancy was the one that the question went away really quick. Oh, there you go. You found it. Nancy says, can the cork fabric be put in the washing machine on a bag? So the nice thing about the cork fabric is that it's water resistant, so you can just wipe it clean with a damp cloth. Before we started carrying the cork, which is, it's been almost 3 years now since we've been carrying the cork fabric, we did run a bunch of tests, and we do periodically run more tests just to make sure that the quality is good. We did run some tests putting it in the washing machine, and it was fine. I suppose I would prefer to just wipe it clean with the damp cloth, but we have put it in the washing machine before. PJ says, I saw on the Sew Sweetness Facebook where someone suggested pulling it away from the exterior, and they did, and it looked much better. Oh, this is in regards to the fusible foam. Actually, I like that idea a lot. So if you can, just kind of pinch the fabric on the front of the bag, and if you can, pull it away from the foam. By pulling the fabric away from the interfacing, you will not be damaging your fabric. I've done it many times. Usually it happens every time we film a new video for a bag, either a free pattern or a bag pattern that we're selling, because I always demonstrate how to attach the fabric to both of the interfacings on camera, including the Shapeplex. And as I'm preparing all my pieces, I generally iron every single piece. So I have to go ahead and rip a piece of fabric away from the Shapeplex so I have one that I can demonstrate on camera. So I've done it tons in the past. I feel like at least every few weeks I seem to have to do that. So pulling fabric away from a fusible interfacing won't cause any damage to your fabric. Jean says, Sarah, if I want to use a pre-quilted fabric, what should I use to give it body? So I have seen pre-quilted fabrics in the past. Normally it's an outer fabric and a lining fabric, and they're quilted. I'm assuming there's a little bit of batting in there. I guess it depends on what type of bag and how what kind of look you want the bag to be. So if you want it to be a slouchier bag, you can just leave it as is with the quilted fabric. Also depends on if you're going to have an additional lining or if you're going to bind the raw edges in the lining. Since your quilted fabric already has a lining, you can very well, most of the fabrics that I've seen in the past aren't super, super thick. You can very well add another interfacing like a fusible fleece or something else. Again, that depends on the kind of look you're going for. Maybe even a foam interfacing, although I haven't tried that in the past with quilted fabric, so not sure about that. Gail says, do you change the size of sewing machine needles on projects as the layers increase? So I always use a 9014 needle, either a Schmetz Microtex or an organ needle, and I always use the same size. I use it for quilt blocks as well as bag making. Generally, you want to switch out your needle if you're using different materials like lightweight garment fabrics. You want to use different needles for that, or leathers or denims. But I use a lot of quilting cottons. I know you know that I use cork and faux leathers, but I use 9014 needles for all of those. Tina says, how about a Harry Potter book club and we can make existing Sew Sweetness projects in Harry Potter fabrics? Oh, that's really cute.
I could participate in that one.
I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and
so am I.
I really enjoy rereading the books.
I've never reread them.
I'm a really big book rereader. I have a lot of books that I reread every few years. I don't know if it's because I have a short-term memory, but a lot of times I forget what happens in the book or the ending, and I don't think that's the case for you, though, right?
No, it is the case because
is it?
sometimes I read books when I get them, and I read them fast. Like, I try to rip through them as fast as I possibly can. And when I'll read a book and it'll have a 3-year gap between the next book coming out, or 2 years, I'll start the next book 2 years from now, and I'm like, crap, I think I need to go back and look like some footnotes to find out what was going on exactly for the last book, so I can get caught up to this book. But usually if you read far enough in, it sort of comes back to the beginning and what you left off.
Well, also the books you usually like to read a lot of them are like 1,000 pages, aren't they?
Yeah.
So really long books. Carol says, how is your Cascade quilt coming along? I finished the quilt top, just needs to be quilted and bound. We'll try to take better photos because I know the photos that we took previously, the quilt was kind of not completely flat. You couldn't see the whole thing really well. We'll have to wait till the kids are home from school so each of them can hold one end or something like that. Lizette said, how do you come up with bag names? That's a really good question.
There's a lot of them. There's probably 5 of those today.
I get a lot of names from song titles, places in Chicago, which is where we live, street names. For the book club free patterns, all of those books are named after places in that particular month's book. But there's tons of streets. Wherever you live, there's tons of streets, and the streets are usually interesting names, so that's an easy place to start for me. Kathy says, Sarah, would a temporary adhesive work on sew-in interfacing instead of fusible interfacing? So I suggest you try it out first on a little square of fabric and interfacing. I don't normally use, actually I've never used spray-based on the foam interfacing to attach my fabric. I've had some people tell me that they really liked it, and I've had some people that tried it and they didn't like it. So I guess your mileage varies in that department, but you can always, so years ago when I did a class for Craftsy, I showed on camera this little test where I recommend attaching your fabric to your foam interfacing, usually a fusible for this test, and then crumpling the fabric and foam interfacing square up in a ball, which simulates turning the fabric right side out through the opening in the lining, and then trying to iron it flat. So if you crumple it up and then try to iron it flat and it looks nice after you've ironed it, then generally you're okay to use that particular method, whether you're using spray-based or whatever else, for your bag. However, if you crumple it up and you try to iron it out and you still see some wrinkles, that means maybe you need to skip the fusible or use a sew-in interfacing instead, if that helps. Lemon breaks down glue and adhesive. I did not know that. That's really interesting. Again, probably want to test that out on your fabric first to make sure it doesn't change the color in case it will. Charlie says, Danny must be talking about the Wheel of Time series.
Yep,
I gave up after book 12.
I've read all those.
Yep.
I've also read all those.
Mary says, Danny, rereading is hard to do with the Stormlight Archive. They're so big. You've read those too?
Yep, they're about 1,000 pages each. Let's see.
Oh, Game of Thrones, you've
read
read
all those as well. You know, it's funny, Sara got me started on all these. Generally, book reading I stopped when I was in my teens. Unless required for school, and I was working my job. Sarah loves reading, and I have downtime in my old job. And Sarah started me with the Harry Potter books. She's like, "Yeah, you should try reading these." So I'm like, "Okay." I read the first Harry Potter book, and man, it just whizzed by. It was an easy book. You could pick up, put down, and I just blazed through all the books she had of the Harry Potter. Then she started getting me in science fiction ones. I think it was the Wheel of Time series after that.
It's funny because I don't read any of those books.
I know.
Besides Harry Potter.
I don't know how you did. She was part of this trading group where you would trade your book in and get credits, and you get other people would trade your books back. You remember
forgot what that was called.
She would get me books like that way, and Christmas time, holidays.
I would just research on Amazon for what was the one with the detective in Chicago?
Harry Dresden.
Harry Dresden.
The Dresden Files. Great series. You get me the Simon Green books as well. And as well as Brandon Sanderson.
It's funny because none of those really sound familiar to me, but it was a long
shame
time
on you.
ago.
They're great books. Terrible series on TV, but great books. Sarah, you know what time it is.
That's it?
Time to wrap it up.
Okay. I apologize if I did not get to your question live. We'll be back again next Tuesday.
Thanks for tuning in,
Ask
everyone.
Sarah. Yeah, thank you for watching.
Participating, commenting. It's great.
You've really uplifted my mood for tonight, I feel.
As soon as we're off here, Sarah's like...
No, it's time to fold laundry.
No, we folded laundry on Sunday.
There's more laundry.
We folded laundry on Sunday, Sarah.
All right. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great week and happy sewing. Bye, everybody.